the real estate industry being something we could do simply and safely, very easily with minimal contact. And so I wanted to come out with this bill. It kind of mirrored what Speaker Turzai was doing with the construction industry. And we find that the governor, believe it or not, kind of acquiesces a little bit whenever we add pressure. So we wrote the bill. It was authored completely in conjunction with PAR. In fact, most of the meat of the bill was written by actually my campaign manager and your PAR. Is he treasurer? First vice president now. Chris Beeling did a lot of the language. We sent it up to PAR. PAR did the review on it, and together we came up with this piece of legislation, which it's basically a soup to nuts of how to safely do a real estate transaction, from going to see the house all the way through settlement. And what we tried to do in the legislation was remove the barriers to the industry. For example, it allows for conditional use and occupancy waivers, because a lot of municipalities are not even fielding those offices, and you can't even get them. So that would be a barrier to the transaction. It allows for appraisers, home inspectors, video people, virtual tour folks, that kind of stuff as well, to complete the transaction. Also, we got the remote notary done, which there's another notary bill because that one actually expires. But what we're finding is the notaries aren't equipped to do the remote notary, and some banks are not even accepting the virtual notaries. So this bill also allows for the in-person notary work to be done as well for title folks, so that we can complete transactions. But basically what this does, Stephanie, is allows the transaction to happen.
Okay, so can you help out some of us who don't understand how the legislation works? So
Absolutely.
A bill is created, and then where does it go from there?
Absolutely. Being a military guy, this is absolutely the most frustrating part of this whole thing. The legislative process is slow, to say at best. This was a record. We were able to get a bill out of the House in 12 days, which just is unheard of. What happens is when someone writes a bill, we send out a co-sponsor memo to get our colleagues to sign on to it. I was fortunate enough to get 50 co-sponsors of it, including 16 from the other party, which it was great bipartisanship. That was on my co-sponsor memo. The very next day, I didn't even wait. The very next day, I introduced the legislation. It comes out and it's called a blue back, and it is sent to the House to the Speaker, and the Speaker decides what committee it goes in. So he immediately sent it to a committee, state government, chaired by Representative Garth Everett. And to Garth's credit, it went into committee on Friday, and on Monday he called a Zoom meeting of his committee to get it out of committee for us. So he was very quick, turned it around, got it out. It was a party line vote, 15-10 to get it out. We got it out and back to the floor, and then the majority leader, Brian Cutler, Representative Cutler, gets to decide if and what bills run. There's thousands of bills, and he mainlined this bill for us. We have a lot of friends of realtors in the legislature, thanks to the advocacy and the calls to action and everything, and RPAC, and it's great. So the leader put it on a calendar, and we were able to rush it through. Now, a little bit of controversy with it. I want to show you that. We'll tell you that happened is there's a little bit of political gamesmanship, which kind of ticked me off. A bill has to go into the House, and you get 3 considerations. It gets introduced for your first consideration. On second consideration, a bill can be amended. On third and final consideration, it can't be amended unless you suspend the rules, which takes 2/3. And in this situation, we had on second consideration, we put some amendments in, some real easy ones that fit, that some of the people requested. Actually, Wendy Ullman from Doylestown requested to add rentals in, even though the language included rentals, it included leases. And then she turned and voted against it. So it made no sense to me. But we did the amendments. But the one thing that was missing after speaking with the governor's staff, and I did have a Zoom meeting with his staff as well, they wanted to ensure that we did not do group open houses, which we were fine with. PAR was fine with. You can do open houses one at a time. You can just not do them at all. I figured, to get people back to work, that's an easy compromise. So we were going to amend the rules on third consideration to allow that to happen. The gamesmanship in the House, the other party did not allow us to get the 2/3 to override it. So they voted no for the rule suspension. So we were now not able to put my amendment in to take out the open houses, which kind of gave way for the folks who voted against the bill then to say, oh, well, since that's in, we can't vote, we'll vote against it. They voted against putting it in, the amendment in, then they voted against it. Lo and behold, we still had the votes to get it out, which is fantastic. It's in the Senate right now after third consideration, and it goes through the exact same process. You want me to keep going, Stephanie, or you want to?
Well, I think so. It's in the Senate now,
Yes.
and so Senate takes a look at it today, tomorrow. When do they look at it, and when do they vote on that?
There's some gamesmanship there too. There's actually a bill from from Senator Lisa Boscola of the Lehigh Valley, who she has her own bill out. The politics of it, and Lisa's great. We talked about this. I was on a Zoom call with her. She gets it. Her bill is probably not going to be the one that runs. It's not her party in the majority. They're going to probably want to run a bill that's with the majority party, which would be my bill. And she also gets it. If we run her bill, then it's got to go back to the House and start over. With my bill, it can come out and go right to, if they change anything, we can do a concurrence vote, send it right to the governor, and it will cut weeks off the process. And she gets that, and she's willing to do that. She also wants to open real estate. So the bill went to the Senate, and the Senate Pro Tem Joe Scarnati assigns it to committee, just like the Speaker does. He sent it to Senator Killian's committee. It's the Senate Community and Economic Development Committee. They took it quick. Senator Killian, I had a nice call with him the other day as well, and I know President Fest, I think you've been talking to these guys at length as well. Senator Killian's planning on moving the bill. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. He's going to get it out of committee. The Senate is going to come back to look at it, and I think it's got juice. I will tell you a little behind the scenes politics. Senator Scarnati wants to do a big bill that covers all industries, and I'm fine with that. We should open all industries. That's a whole other argument. But if this bill is not amended by a bunch of folks in committee and we move this on, procedural changes, amendments are fine. But if folks tack on a lot of garbage, Scarnati's just going to sit on it and not move it. So as it looks right now, and that's why I always ask all of you to reach out to your senators now and let them know you want this bill to pass, House Bill 2412. There's a lot of folks on both sides of the House that are on this, and we have a champion on the minority party with Wayne Fontana, who's a broker as well on the West Coast. So we have good momentum coming out of there. If we can push this, get it out of committee today or tomorrow, go right to the Senate floor. What'll happen is the Senate is at least going to amend the open house thing. The reason that we had all the no votes on the House side before for the open house, we're going to amend it to not allow group open houses, which again is a no big deal. It'll come back. So when it passes the Senate, it'll come back to the House, and we'll have to do a concurrence vote on that amendment. It's a quick vote. We already have the votes to do it. I think we'll gain a ton more because they've taken out the open house thing. And then it goes to the governor. Now the governor can sign it or veto it. If he vetoes it, it'll go back and we can try to override it with a 2/3 vote. To be honest with you folks, I don't think that's going to need to happen. The governor, when he sees this thing coming and sees the writing on the wall, he's been changing his mind on things when it gets close. When the construction bill came, he opened construction. When the day we ran 2412 on the floor, I got a call a minute before going into the chamber onto the floor by one of his chief of staff saying, "Hey, we're doing this real estate thing. You can pull your bill." And I said, "It's not statewide." And the penalties on his bill was possible loss of license, which was not acceptable to me also. So I said, "Nope, I'm running my bill." And we did that. So I have a hunch, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that this week, if we could get some momentum, he's getting pressure from everybody to open. He's got to be under enormous pressure. And I know I've spoken to the governor. For him, it's all about safety, and but he's just so far gone on the safety issue that he's losing how it's just decimating people, industries. He's worried about a crowd in Wegmans. So I said to him, I go, "Governor, there's people don't even have the money to go to Wegmans." I said, you gotta fix this. So I have a hunch that once we get this out of the Senate or get it so that it's coming to a vote in the Senate, he's not going to want that bad press. He's going to announce magically that he's opening real estate to everybody, and hopefully we go back to work. Again, that's just my opinion on that. I haven't heard that from anybody, but that's how he's kind of rolled on a lot of these things with car dealers and other industries. So that's where I think we're at right now. Bill Festa probably has the latest, greatest on that. Your PAR has been great with this. They've been with us lockstep every way. And I want to congratulate all of you as well, realtors. You did over 8,500 calls to action to the House. And for the 10 years that I did them, I never realized what a pain in the butt they are, because my email got slammed and it was wonderful. I even sent my call to action to myself. So thank you for that. Guess what? That gets heard on the floor. I had one colleague joke with me. He goes, "Tell your realtors to stop or I'm going to be a no." He was joking, of course, but they get it. They know we're watching, and that's so valuable.
Well, Todd, I think timing is everything, and you were the perfect guest for this week's Coffee Talk with your bill coming on the floor for a vote. Tell us how GPAR can help get this. Who do we need to call? State reps, state senators? Who are we calling to get this passed?
Your best bet right now would be to reach out, keep calling and emailing the governor's office. He's unilaterally doing this. That's if you can drop an email to the governor or a phone call. A lot of his phones are now going straight to the Board of Health. He's not even taking calls. But if we just keep hitting, his staff members. Will Danowski is one of the guys running this behind the scenes. Some of those folks, that would be very good. If you have anybody if you live anywhere where you have any senators in the Community Economic Development Committee, it's Senator Tom Killian. I know some people live out that way. He would be a great one to reach out to. And the best thing I would do is after that, reach out to your senators if you want, if you have relationships with them, but watch what PAR is doing. And I have a hunch there will be a call to action to the Senate coming on this. And if there is, please respond to the call to action. It works. It really does. I've seen it now from both sides of the coin, and it really works. Just follow the PAR website, follow the guidelines. They're giving briefs daily almost. They have the call-ins and everything. Bill Fest has been very proactive. He's been everywhere. And just keep watching what PAR tells you to do. They're leading you in the right direction. That would be your best bet.
Perfect. And that was going to be my follow-up with after this coffee talk with Bill and Matt to get those letters ready for a call to action. So great advice. Okay, so Todd, at this point in our coffee talk, we open it up to the chats. We have some questions,
Sure.
And I think Matt has been fielding them. Matt, are you there? You want to start with some or?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple of things here, guys. If you're not going to identify yourself with your name in the chat, we're not going to go ahead and call out your question. So if you're represented by some number and we don't know who is behind that number, we're not going to go ahead and read your question out. This is about, membership and being together and kind of seeing like who's behind the question. So just going to throw that out there. So Representative Todd, we have some questions about the Real Estate Commission and their interplay with all this. So could you maybe give us a little explanation about the Real Estate Commission, where they get their authority from and how they interplay with all this in terms of legislative initiatives and things along those lines?
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you. The Real Estate Commission is playing a role in this. They're more of an advisory role with regards to this. The Real Estate Commission oversees our licensing. It's through the Bureau of Licensure, and that's their job. They're on a normal basis. They're kind of taking a back seat to this. This is all the governor's play on when and what we do, and the legislature's oversight of the governor, for lack of a better word. And what'll happen is when this comes out in my bill, you'll see that I wrote the Real Estate Commission as the governing body to oversee enforcement of this, not the governor, state police, not those kind of folks. So I had a nice conversation with Joe Tarantino a while back. They're on board. They want this to happen too. but for the most part, they're not the decision makers in this process. They're more along the lines of just making sure we do what we do. I will tell you, while I think about this, Matt, this is a pretty important point. You're seeing counties say, oh, we're going to just blow off what the governor does. We're going to open our counties, this and that. I signed a letter to back our county commissioners, just saying that we should be open. It didn't say we're going to open. Be cautious about just blowing off the governor on this stuff. I agree. We all need to know. We all know we should be open. We can be open safely, but to just blow him off or follow blindly when counties do that, we have a different situation than most workers. We have a license, and the governor controls that license. The governor can very easily take your license from you. He can do it right now, just by the fact that if you violate according to how he opens things, he can say, okay, we're pulling that license and put you in limbo for a while. So I'm not going to tell you how or what to do. We're all individuals, but I personally am going to follow the governor's order here, just because that's what we're doing. And then I'm going to fight it the proper ways through the proper channels. What you're going to hear, like even in Bucks County, we're not, the district attorney's office says we're not going to enforce any rules breaking with stuff. Yeah, you're right. The counties and townships to municipalities are not. However, the state police are, and that's who the governor has. So they're still going to enforce, and the governor still has the ability to pull your licenses. So just be careful there. I just don't want anyone to fall into that trap, just blindly going forward.
Okay, thanks for that answer to the question. Gave a lot of clarity. To one of our posters in here, there was a question about how does the call for action work? So I'll field that question. So there's 2 points that the communication goes out to our members. One, you can get it from PAR, and then GPAR acts as the wingman to PAR's push. So PAR is closely monitoring what's going on in Harrisburg, and they make the critical decision as to when the call for action actually gets launched. It's all about timing. It's all about what makes the most sense for what is trying to be put forth out in Harrisburg. So you may hear about certain things happening, but it might not help out the process to do it right now. Maybe it makes more sense to wait a little bit. No matter what, we follow the direction of PAR because they are the closest advocates for us out there in Harrisburg. So once they launch the call for action, we will get advance notice. Usually it's about within a half hour or so. And then boom, they hit the go button. And then we as local associations, we start pushing it out through our channels as well. So we're trying to get you guys from a bunch of different angles. You get it from the Just Listed, you get it from PAR. Maybe President Bill goes ahead and sends out a message. And then we start doing it locally. So we understand that people get their information from a lot of different points. So the main things are, it's going to be coming via email. And then we buttress that with social media push out. So will it be coming to your phone? The answer to that question is no. So it's email or social media, which I guess could be on your phone, right? So Representative Todd, so you went through the whole process. What are we really talking about in terms of the time? Bare bones. When does this get to when should this get to the governor's desk? Do you think?
Well, like I said, the process is a little tedious. It's 3 considerations in the House. It's a committee vote, 3 considerations in the House, 3 in the Senate, and then back to the governor. We did the House in record time, 12 days. I challenged Senator Scarnati on the phone to beat that. When I talked to him, I said, "See if you can beat my 12 days in the House and the Senate." He's trying. So what it comes down to is it's all in Senator Killian's hands on when he runs the bill out of his committee right now. And quite frankly, he's getting guidance. He's not doing this unilaterally. He's getting guidance from his leadership, which is Senator Scarnati and Senator Corman. Senator Corman's a friend of ours. I don't know if folks know Senator Corman's sister, Melissa Sieg, was a past PAR president. So I haven't spoken directly to leadership about that, but I'm pretty sure they're talking to Melissa about talking to her brother a little bit about this to move it. So, Matt, I don't want to go and just go on record and say that, but if all goes well, there's a good possibility we can move it out We could move it out of committee today or tomorrow, go right to the Senate floor. If they're reconvening like they say they are, there's a good possibility we could have it back in the House for our session on Monday next week. I know my leadership, I've been talking to them at length, my leadership will run it on concurrence immediately. So we'll have the vote on concurrence immediately. So best case scenario, we have it to the governor by Monday afternoon, Tuesday. Again, that's very bold. That's assuming everything goes right. And it doesn't get tacked with a bunch of amendments in the Senate. And they're able to move it off the floor in the Senate. So that would be best case. And again, Bill Festa, maybe you have an update from what you're hearing, because we're talking to the legislature from all different angles. You know, I'm just a lowly House member talking to senators. He's in charge of the largest trade association in Pennsylvania. So maybe you have different insight on that.
We do have some breaking news from President Bill. Breaking news about call for action.
Scooping.
You want me to jump in here, Stephanie?
Yeah, give us the
Yeah, go
breaking
ahead, do
news.
it.
Okay, yeah, the call for action is going out later this morning. It'll be to the full Senate. So they're going to get flooded with emails. As far as how your bill is going to run, Todd, we think that today it is going to be, the Senate committee is going to vote on it. The 13th is what we're sending out the call to action for, which is Wednesday. We believe Monday it goes back to the House for concurrence, and then probably, hopefully, Tuesday to the governor's desk for signature.
Yeah,
And
I
this
concur. That's great.
is, yeah, I mean, this is everyone's chance to make a change and get involved and respond to this call to action. So when it comes, everybody respond, and there's power in numbers.
Yes, there is.
So, okay, that
Another
was my 2
question.
cents. Thank you, Bill.
All right, very good. So Representative Todd, so we have a whole bunch of stuff in the chat, and this is something that we've been hearing from some of our members, right? As this whole pandemic has kind of unfolded and we have had previous calls for action, we've had some members who have been upset about, hey, look, I'm not sure it's safe. I'm not sure I'm ready to go out there and be a regular practitioner. What are your thoughts about that as it relates to, hey, you're pushing a piece of legislation where we still know that the virus is out there and that there are, some health considerations for sure with that. So how would you respond to the member with that kind of question of, hey,
Gladly, Matt.
safety subjective?
Yeah. First of all, I want to start out by saying there is nobody in the legislature that wants to do this in a frivolous, unsafe way. The reason we're pushing this so hard is because we believe that we can open things up more safely. The real estate transaction takes such minimal people to do. A lot of the folks are looking at houses virtually. I don't have to explain to the agents how this works. People are looking at houses virtually. They'll go look at houses. You could sit in your car. The governor could tell us what type of PPE gear you got to go see a house. You go in with your gloves on, your mask. The sellers could leave the closets open, the lights on. You don't even have to touch anything. You go in and see the house if you want to make an offer. Most of the rest of the transaction can be done virtually. Just got to allow for appraisers and home inspectors to go in, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it is such minimal contact. I will tell you also with regards to the virus, and I'm not playing down because the speaker just did a bill that he just introduced to help nursing homes and personal care facilities, because they're ground zero for this. In Bucks County, where I'm at, just to say, 74% of all the COVID deaths are in personal care facilities or in nursing homes. Okay, this virus it attacks the elderly and the poor. That's where it is. So what we're trying to do with regards to that is, when we're talking about the numbers for the governor opening his safety things with regards to other businesses, we want him to exclude the nursing home facilities. Now, obviously, yes, you still have employees that come in, nurses and stuff that come in and out on a daily basis. We still have to monitor them and include them in our numbers. However, the actual residents of a nursing home are not going out into the general public. They're not a risk to infect other people, with the exception of those caregivers that they're seeing on a daily basis. So we're not advocating for doing something unsafe. We want to follow the CDC guidelines. We want to follow the Homeland CISA guidelines. We want to do this correctly. We want to keep the social distancing, and we think we can. I still think it's ridiculous. Everyone says, well, hey, you know what? Wegmans and Giant, that's food. We need that. Yeah, we do need that. We absolutely need that. But guess what? If we keep people out of work, they're not going to have the money to buy food, and that you're going to put them in the exact same situation. The suicide rates are up. The people relapsing on chemical addiction rates are up because they can't get to their support structures. This has a huge social impact and economic impact that can be just as devastating as the virus itself. Obviously, that won't kill you, but it can drive you to those points on your own. So it's important to balance this. We can open safely. I'm not advocating for everybody drop your masks and just go about your business. That's not what anybody's saying, but Matt, it can be done safely.
So I think this would be a good time to weave in President Stephanie and President Bill. President Bill went ahead and did something on the state level, put together a work group focused on recommending safe practices and whatnot. President Bill, could you maybe give us a little bit of a quick rundown about that work group?
Yeah, last week the work group issued a set of guidelines of best practices when going out into the market. So, I mean, actually, it's there. We have several counties that are in the yellow that can practice. So, right now we're recommending it to the people in the north, central, and northwest, and now the western part of the state. I don't have the form in front of me, but it is a strict set of guidelines, even more than what the CDC and the World Health Organization is recommending. So I agree with Todd. We feel that we can do this safely. We don't have a high, what's the word I'm looking for? The ability we don't meet in large groups. You know, it's one or two. Actually, the governor's orders say no more than 2 people on the property at one time. So, and that includes the agent. So we are in a position, because I see some of the comments about being safe. It is extremely safe. I don't want to downplay the fact that people are dying or anything like that, but I mean, when the governor can put out an order that says says that 4 contractors can be in the house at one time. So if I get somebody to work on my house, up to 4 people can be in the house, and that includes the owners. So maybe there's 6 or 7 people if they have a child that are permitted, but realtors are only permitted to have no more than 2 people on site. So I know that Todd doesn't want us to bash the governor, and we are not going to bash the governor, but there are a lot of inconsistencies. There are, you know, he says that we can work safely on any contract that was signed prior to March 18th, but after March 18th, we can't work safely. Right now, you can sell a home in a yellow area, and if your home is sold, then you can purchase in a red area. Again, there's these whole contradictions that are going on and just causing mass chaos. So we won't bash the governor on the air or in the media, but between us, there's where the inconsistencies flow, and it is very, very frustrating.
So going back to that work group, President Bill, could you tell us a little bit more of how you comprise that, who was on it, and how did they go about doing their work to create that document?
Yeah, a name that you should be familiar with, Bill Lublin chaired the committee. Greg Herb was the vice chair. And then we had 1 representative from each section of the state. There was a total of 12 people on the committee, so that everybody's market was basically addressed. I know that they came out with 3 new forms. 2 of them were basically statements that were being made, and one of them is a set of check boxes that you have to click off that you ask your client before walking into the house. Well, you know, have you had a fever and stuff like that? There's a set of 5 questions, but all of that, well, the forms came from the Standard Forms Committee, but it was at the recommendation of the task force.
Okay, so let's take this now to the local level.
Mhm.
President Stephanie, what did GPAR do in relation to COVID-19 and giving guidance to our folks?
So again, I was on that task force working on the guidelines, and we were going through the exercise of every real estate practice, anything a realtor would, a showing, a listing, how to safely do it. And every time we drilled down and went through that exercise, you had to come back to the main focus, which was the client, whether it was the buyer or the seller, and it was the safety of their home. This is where they live. What's best for them. So we worked on that on a state level, and then we decided we should probably work on it on a Philadelphia level, because we knew Philadelphia, based on, and this is going a couple weeks back, that these openings, we knew it was going to be data driven by this governor. He was upfront about that in the beginning. So we knew Philadelphia was going to be last. So we wanted to demonstrate that we, on a local level, could do this safely for those clients who really needed to work. There's a lot of people that are out of work, but there are people who are still working and able to work from home, and life is moving, and those people are on the move and they need to find housing. So that was the focus. What could we do? So we did the same thing. We picked out some agents throughout the city, different practices, and what we decided was we were going to use the PAR guidelines as a foundation. And so that's where we're at now. We're just going to see what happens this week. And then maybe we'll reconvene and, you know, have another conversation.
So the main thing is that GPAR isn't going to go ahead and recreate the wheel. It's just, we wanted to make sure that we were already in a position and not caught flat-footed. Use the document that came from PAR, and if there was something that maybe perhaps had to be tweaked because perhaps the local government may have said, hey, we need a little bit of this
Exactly.
to feel comfortable, we would be able to go ahead and insert that into the PAR document for our folks locally. So it wouldn't be to go ahead and weaken anything that PAR put forth. It would only be to go ahead and strengthen it, and or to meet any questions or mandates that were put forth by the local municipality, City of Philadelphia government. So
Right.
that's kind of where we were.
Yeah, it was a proactive approach. We wanted to be prepared to respond and not have to react, you know, to whatever it is. Hopefully we won't have to do anything. Maybe it all falls in line and they share the same philosophies, and, you know, on the state and local level, that we don't need to do anything different than what we did up at the state at PAR.
Can I get back in with one thing?
Go for it.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. We know about the counties that are saying, we're going to just go ahead and practice. We don't care what the governor says. PAR, and I'm sure GPAR, does not support that in any way. We realize there's a lot of pent up anxiety and people want to get back to work, but anybody that goes against the governor's order is subject, as Representative Polinchock said, to possibly losing their license. And I would certainly hate to be involved in a lawsuit for someone who contracted the virus as a result of openly violating the law. So be careful with that. And if you get any calls from the media, I know, like, sometimes a lot of top producers or agents that know reporters, if you get any calls or asked to do any kind of interviews, please refer them to Matt and Stephanie. If it's a larger issue, a statewide issue, then to the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. But we have our talking points, we have our messages, and if it starts to sound like we're contradicting one another, we're just doomed. So we don't want to get into that mix up there. That's all I have.
So tough kind of statement here in the in the chat, and that is, hey, what do you go ahead and tell your agents from your office? This business is able to do work and you're not. I think it's kind of been demonstrated throughout the course of this conversation that yes, that is a very hard question to answer. You understand that your agents have needs, real needs. And, you know, I think it's one of these things, we look at all there isn't a really good or logical answer, because there are some things that have been allowed. I think President Bill just outlined one about having, you know, some construction work done within your own home, and you have multiple people in there. You know, there's just some inconsistencies with some of the directives that have come forth. And it's a really, really hard question to go ahead and give a sound and logical answer, I think. It's difficult.
Yeah, and Matt, if I could just add to that, and again, this is the way we feel. We're not, well, and we may even put this out in the public. Pennsylvania is the only state in the country where real estate is shut down. A week ago, it was Vermont, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and Washington, D.C. They are no longer shut down. So the only state in the country that is not opened to real estate being done safely, not business as usual, but being done safely, is the state of Pennsylvania. And it just boggles my mind that the governor of Pennsylvania thinks that he has the right answer when 49 other governors feel that they can do it. So again, that's just me venting, and it'll just be on Coffee Talk.
And Stephanie and Matt, if I could add to that, I will beat up the governor. I'm not that polite, Bill. The waiver system he's doing is absolutely inconsistent. It's ridiculous. The list is published now. There's actually with real estate companies on the list that had waivers. We don't get it. There is nothing in this whole way he's handling this that is good for, that has any consistency whatsoever. So yeah, we have picked a couple industries that we're tackling that, you know, Representative Terzai picked the construction industry, and we had my friend Natalie Mihalik, another Navy person here. Natalie brought out the auto industry, car dealers. People were able to buy a car online and get a test drive car from one of those big car companies, and having their car delivered to the state from out of state to test drive to buy a car out of state. Yet our local dealers are getting crushed. Nothing that the governor's doing is making sense. The fact that we're the only state in the union now to not have real estate services makes no sense. He's got to be feeling the pressure. We got to keep up on it. I saw one of your comments real quick, just, and I'll be quiet. I don't want to monopolize the time here. One of the comments was that about not just worrying about the nursing homes, that there are other demographics that are getting sick, and there are. I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying the vast majority of the deaths are coming from folks that have a comorbidity, that have all other symptoms, and that the average age of people dying from this COVID virus is in the 70s. It's folks in nursing homes in the 70s. There are one or two cases of other folks here or there. But again, the devastation that's being caused to everybody because of that. People die from the flu every year. Now, yes, this is a much more dangerous thing than the flu, but at the same time, you got to weigh it with that as well.
Another question in the chat about memorandum of understanding. Go to PAR. They have gone ahead, and we will make sure that is communicated to our folks. Anything is going to be coming through PAR for consistency as it relates to any additional forms or directives as it relates to COVID-19. So I think, you know, as was already said, there were there was one form that came out right out of the chute when this all started to unfold, and then two more came out during the course of the task force that President Bill put together. So that's where it's going to be coming from. All right, last shot, folks. You have any questions, drop it in the chat right now. We're at 9:48. All right, with that, I think we're done, guys.
We are. Well, I just want to take a minute to thank Todd and also Bill for your input today. And you know, we have a really important week this week. We need to do our part, do call to action. You know, I know PAR and Matt, you know, GPAR, every day they have been working to get us deemed essential as real estate as an essential. And some people don't agree with the state opening. Some people are still planning to stay home, and that's okay. Some people are relieved to go back to work and, you know, happy to go back to work to maybe put food on the table. But we should all just be kind to one another. You know, coming off Mother's Day was you know, we were all home. We had to stay at home for some of us, and it was sobering. So when we're out there, no, we're working for our members. You know, we're really trying to get us back to work in the safest way possible, not only for members, but for their clients and for their families. And it's okay to stay home. It's okay to go to work when we're able to go to work. But just be kind to one another. And those are going to be my closing thoughts, Matt. So thank you, Todd, and thank you, Bill.
I just want to say thank you for having me on the call, everybody. President Festa, President Biello, this is a great year for you guys to have your presidency in the middle of the pandemic. How's it going so far? But I want to thank you both for what you're doing, and Matt also for you know, for quarterbacking up there, trying to keep things going as well. And actually, to the members of GPAR, your calls to action were fantastic. We're showing the governor that we're watching, that things are happening. So stay informed. All of you came on the call today are showing an interest and an advocacy in your industry, and keep fighting for that. So you know, follow your president and follow GPAR, and do what's asked of them. And we're going to get through this. We'll get through it sooner rather than later. I believe that in my heart. But thank you again for having me on today. I really appreciate that. This is great, Steph. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Todd. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you for doing these, Stephanie. I think that these are great for the members. I think sometimes we get graded on just whether on a pass fail, and rather than, you know, what are you doing? So if we don't get this, if we don't get the industry open, we fail, and that's not what's happening. So thank you for mentioning that there is a lot going on behind the scenes. We are just up against a governor that will not open his door and listen to us, but we are trying.
Thank you. Matt, do you
All
want to
right,
update everybody on upcoming?
Yeah, so hope to see you guys later on this week. Town Hall with Councilwoman Sherelle Parker should be a good one. Bright MLS training, happy hour on Friday. With that, guys, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.